Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. So for today's video, I have some fall decor pieces using Dollar Tree materials. And I know a lot of people have already moved on to Christmas, but bear with me, I'm still very much in the fall spirit. So I will have some fall videos coming out. I might even sprinkle in a Halloween video. But I'm really excited to share the stuff that I made. It's super easy, nothing crazy. And today's video is sponsored by ShopTagger. I love ShopTagger. I mention them very often because I use them all the time for gifts, expensive purchases, and basically anything that I really don't want to spend full price on. So let me show you how to use ShopTagger and then we'll get right into the video. On Google Chrome, you're going to want to go on shoptagger.com. The link will be in my description, and you're going to want to sign up to get this little widget right here. You can shop directly from shoptagger.com. Just check out the stores. It shows you all the stores that are available and all the stores that you're eligible to earn cash back. That's a new feature that they have. So let's say I'm shopping on Target. It'll automatically tell me that I can earn 1% cash back. And if I do end up shopping here, then I will get my 1% via PayPal. So the way that ShopTagger works is that once you pick an item, you're gonna click on the widget and it's going to let you save this. So I usually have them notify me of any price change, and it'll notify me either by text or email, whatever I choose, and then I add it to a list. I can create my list here directly or to one that I've already created. And these lists are shareable, so if you're creating a wish list, this is perfect. You can also make the list on the website. And the cool thing is that when you're ready to check out, ShopTagger will look for coupon codes so that you can get an even better deal on the item, so you're always getting the most bang for your buck. A big thank you to ShopTagger for sponsoring today's video. Make sure that you click the link in my bio to check them out. And before we get into the video, I want to remind you to please hit that subscribe button. Once you hit subscribe, we instantly become best friends. And hit that notification bell. Make sure you set them to all. YouTube may or may not let you know when I post a video, but if not, follow me on Instagram. I always post what I'm up to. And let's go ahead and get started. For the first craft, I'm going to be using these napkin rings from Dollar Tree. You can find them in the party section, but if you can't, these book rings will work just fine. You'll just have a thinner napkin ring. So I'm going to use raffia, and each one of these bundles makes one braid to cover the napkin ring, depending on which one you use. I always put this down to braid it so I have a nice straight braid. At the end of my braid, I'm going to flood a little section with hot glue, and once it's completely dry, I'm going to cut it right after the hot glue, but make sure that I'm pinching it so that it doesn't unravel. And now I'm going to start gluing it onto the ring. So I'm going to take this and dip it into that glue so it doesn't unravel, and then work my way all the way around. I do overlap them slightly, and then at the end I'm going to flood it with a little bit more glue, wait till it dries, cut it, and then tuck that little piece under. I don't want to create a lot of bulk, so I'm just tucking at that very corner. You're going to be able to see a little bit of hot glue, but that's on the back. And now you can add a pumpkin. I am going to go ahead and add a little acorn. By the way, that pumpkin is from Dollar Tree. This is what it looks like, and you can add different elements to each table setting, and I love how this turned out. For the next one, I'm going to be making a fall version of the wreath that I created on March 8th, 2020 and July 20th, 2020. A lot of people have recreated this craft, so I'm pretty sure you know how this goes. I'm going to use 2 packs of the table tennis, and with my drill, I'm going to make sure that it's not sliding around and drill a hole straight through. I do lift it up before I go around. You can also use a hot glue gun or a hot skewer, whatever you have on hand. To make my life easier while painting, I'm going to put these on skewers while I spray paint. Now I use the color Warm Caramel by Rust-Oleum. For the wreath itself, I use these 3D wreaths from Dollar Tree, but if you can't find these, then you can use a wire hanger, or you can use their regular wreaths and just use side cutters to get an even ring out. I'm going to use side cutters to get those little pieces off. Just be very, very careful. Make sure that you're wearing protective gear and flatten out those edges. So I'm going to cut it and then I'm going to start feeding the balls through. Make sure that you're careful so that the paint doesn't chip. To reattach the bottom, I'm going to use some floral tape from Dollar Tree. Make sure that you're pulling nice and tight to activate that glue. Make sure none of the wire is peeking through because you really don't want to get hurt when you're trying to assemble your wreath. I also added some floral tape to the end of the beads. This is so that they don't slide around, so this serves as a little stopper. Dollar Tree has a ton of greenery options, so does Walmart and Michael's with a coupon. This is actually the exact same wreath as before, but because I don't use hot glue, I'm able to remove the flowers that I use and pop in whatever I want, which is why I love using the floral tape, and you'll see what method I use to secure my pumpkins. For the pumpkins, what I'm going to do is instead of gluing it down, I'm going to add these tiny little clothespins, which I found in the craft section of Dollar Tree. Now, what you want to do is you want to add hot glue while it's piping hot, and then once you place it down, do not move it. If you move it, it will lose its hold. You can also do this with E6000, but I was a little impatient. So now you're able to add your pumpkin and reuse it. I'm also going to use these pumpkin clips from Dollar Tree. They already come with a clip in place, so I love it. If you can find those clips, then that would work for the bigger pumpkin as well. I'm just going to start placing my pumpkins randomly, and then I'm going to use this bouquet from Dollar Tree and just cut down the pieces and add them in between so that it looks like the colors and leaves are changing. Now, if you notice, I'm not using any hot glue at all. I'm just putting these in and then clipping it underneath the pumpkin so that when I'm ready to reuse this for another season, I can just put these little pieces away and add whatever I want. If I want to make this into a little Christmas wreath or just a regular boho wreath. This is what it looks like with the clips, and it is nice and secure, and I can reuse it. For the next one, I'm going to be using these little palettes from Dollar Tree. All over the Facebook groups, people have been turning these into adorable coasters, so I just wanted to make very fall-themed ones. And if you don't want to spend the dollar for these, you can make them out of tumbling tower games and popsicle sticks, and you'll probably save about $1 or $2. I'm going to take my Dollar Tree sanding sponge and I'm going to sand them down lightly just so that when they do get stained or painted, the color is more even. I saw these coasters at TJ Maxx and I fell in love. They weren't expensive. It honestly cost the same to buy them, but I really didn't love the font on them. I didn't like that they were black, so I decided to recreate them using Dollar Tree stuff, and I think these would be perfect, personalized with someone's name as a table setting as well. For stain, I'm going to use some watered down brown paint. I really like this nutmeg color. I've been using it for everything. And just make sure that you mix it really well and that you mix a nice amount so that the coasters don't end up different colors. You can, of course, use regular stain, shoe polish. I believe coffee was another suggestion. But once you have the color that you like and the consistency, I like using a sponge brush from Dollar Tree because it gets into all the nooks and crannies. When it was dry, I went ahead and just wrote out thankful, grateful, blessed, gathered with a regular color pencil, and you can either use a brush and paint to fill that in. I use this oil pen. It was a lot easier, and when you're using this, make sure that you are doing this little part right here on a piece of paper and not on the wood itself. If you don't have a Cricut and you're not comfortable freehanding, then I do have a tutorial where I show you how to transfer fonts or drawings using chalk and just tracing stuff out. I'll go ahead and link it below, but you can use the same method for these. Now, if you want to package these for a gift, I would suggest using some Dollar Tree raffia and just tying a little bow. Like I said, you can skip the thankful, grateful, blessed, and just add people's names as a table setting. And this would be so cute for Thanksgiving dinner or whatever dinner you're having. While I was staging this, I created a little faux whipped cream cup, and I know this has been done a ton of times. I am doing mine a tiny bit different, but I do want to mention that this was originally by Vanessa from ClassyCrafting&Parcels. I've also seen Auntie Coo Coo make it, and Olivia's Romantic Home. I'm going to do mine on a wood slice, and with 2 pieces of Jenga pieces, I'm going to add them to the bottom. This is just so it's easier for me to pick up. Don't do it too close to the edge so that it still fits on the cup, but you want to let this dry, and I'm going to use all-purpose caulk. I believe everyone else used the spackle. Both work just fine, but I wanted to save myself the $1 from buying the piping bags, so I'm going to start with the center, and then I'm going to work my way around, making sure that it overflows just a little bit so you don't see the wood. Now, it's totally okay if this doesn't look neat. Whipped cream doesn't usually look neat. Once I have finished, I'm going to put some cinnamon on the top and let it dry. Do not touch it, just let it dry, but look how real this looks. You can garnish it with a real cinnamon stick, a straw, these little pumpkins. If I would have added more of the caulk, I probably would have added pumpkins. And now when it's dry, you can pick it up with no issue, and you can place it into your cup. I do regret not adding a little bit more on the sides, but it does look like hot chocolate. This is perfect for staging photos, and I will link the other creators below so you can see what they created because they made some pretty cool desserts. For this one, I'm going to be using this Halloween pail. Now, you can get this for 97 cents at Walmart. I'm not really sure if Dollar Tree has these. I always just see the little cauldron ones. I removed the handle, and then I'm going to put some duct tape on the inside so that I can add some spackle to cover up those little holes. Don't worry about it being perfectly neat because you can always sand that down a little bit when it's dry. And now I'm just going to flip it over and I am going to give it a coat of paint. Now the paint that I'm using is called Pueblo. I've used this in other tutorials before. Now I'm using a sponge brush from Dollar Tree. You can skip this and just use that warm caramel color that I used for the wreath earlier and spray paint it. It's up to you, but I use Pueblo because I'm also going to be using one of the Dollar Tree foam pumpkins. In between coats, make sure that you're putting your foam brush or regular brush in a bag so it doesn't dry out, and then go ahead and do your second and third coat. Before I moved on, I took my foam pumpkin from Dollar Tree and I basically just measured out the top by pushing it in so that I know where to cut. This is completely inspired by an arrangement that I saw while I was at my local Starbucks. I thought it was so beautiful, and even though it isn't exact, because I couldn't hang the top of the pumpkin onto the arrangement, I think it makes it look really cool, and it ends up being a lot bigger than just using the foam pumpkin. So I'm going to cut around, making sure that I'm not dragging my blade. I'm just piercing and working my way around. and then I'm going to remove the stem and paint all of this the same color. Once that's painted and dry, I'm going to take one of my old stems. This is a stem that I made using air dry modeling clay. I always do pumpkin tutorials where I make over the foam pumpkins and always make new stems. I've made so many of these videos, that's why I didn't include that footage, but if you haven't seen it, I will link it below. I'm adding it using hot glue, making sure that it's a generous amount, and then I'm adding my greenery. I used a mix of greenery from Dollar Tree, Walmart, I believe some are from Michael's, and I think that this looks so gorgeous, and since it's so much bigger than the foam pumpkins, as a centerpiece would be absolutely beautiful. So that's it for me. I really hope that you enjoyed these crafts. A big thank you to ShopTagger for sponsoring today's video. The link will be in my description for you to check them out. And as usual, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I will hopefully see you on the next one.